Hi, everyone. This is Gary Berman, host of the Cyber Hero Adventure Show, welcoming you to a very special micro briefing today. I'd like to invite to the show our two special guests. We have Stacy Legwicker and Alex Rose. Hi, Stacy and Alex.
Hello.
Hi, Gary.
So, how are things in London at the moment?
Going great. We're really happy to be here preparing for our summit next week, together with the team and meeting some folks. So really getting excited.
Yeah, for good reason too. I'm excited as well. This is the first time I've ever actually done a preview of an event, and the reason I was motivated to do so is because of the incredible speakers and the agenda that you've been able to put together. So we'll be sharing that with our audience momentarily. But in the meantime, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your origin stories. How did you get to this moment in time?
Yeah. So maybe I'll start and then I'll turn to Alex because she's really a hero in this production and show with her background. And so I have worked in technology my entire career and have been in security really the last several, probably decade or so, and heavily focused on how do we help protect organizations, talk about customer value, and really make sure that organizations understand what's the right solutions, what's the right outcomes they're trying to drive. And one of the things I really enjoy doing, Gary, is things like this and the event we're putting on, which is very thought leadership driven, right? It's very much focused on how do we help individuals that are part of organizations understand the threat landscape so that they can protect themselves.
Yeah.
Indeed, that's a wonderful motivation too. Forgive the interruption, but I really am aligned with that. That's the primary reason that we're doing this together, because a rising tide lifts all ships, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Alex,
Let me dive
yeah.
in. Yeah. So I'm Alex Rose. I've been at Secureworks the last 5 years. And the way I got here was through, I went to school to be a teacher and decided not to do that. And I joined the Air Force. And so I served for several years in the Air Force. And that was my entrance into doing analysis in the intelligence community. And so once I left the Air Force, I went to the National Security Agency, spent some time there, spent some time doing some joint duty assignments with partners across the US and the globe. And 5 years ago, that brought me to Secureworks. I was originally talked to about, hey, we've got really excellent research here. We've been connecting with research partners to include government partners around the world. It seems like you might know a little bit about the US partner space. And so I joined originally to lead our government partnerships, particularly those in the US. And since then have really branched out and serve in a leadership role in our counter threat unit together with our real expert researchers. So it's a really fun space to be.
Indeed, and it's ever evolving, isn't it? I mean, no one actually knows everything.
No.
I feel like it's like Swiss cheese when you think about it. Everyone has a little piece that are trying to map together. And that's one of the things I'm excited about is just the public-private collaboration that does take place. I don't think everyone realizes how much information goes to try to create that whole picture or that whole piece of cheese.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's jump into some of the thought leaders that are going to be joining us. And first of all, what are the logistics? It's going to be on Thursday, October 3rd. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's October 3rd, that Thursday of next week. It's all virtual, so it's a completely free event. All you need to go, and I think we'll put it in the chat, or you can go to secureworks.com, is register for the event. It's 3 hours of live content, and you can ask questions to these experts, engage with the experts, and for engaging, you get 3.5 CPE credits. And so this is really meant to be an opportunity for everyone to learn about what that landscape looks like from experts that you maybe don't get to talk and interact with every day. And then what's great is when we finish the first 3 hours, we then have 19 on-demand sessions, very focused topics that some of the smartest researchers, some of those that are in more of the cyberspace that are understanding how threat actors move, what are we seeing, how do you protect your organization? And that way you can pick your own sessions that you want to listen into, what are the most relevant topics. And so when you think about the sum of content that's here for free, it's quite massive. And so this first session here, the State of the Roundtable, this is the one that really is going to kick off everything. Here we have some of our most expert researchers that have been looking at the threat here at Secureworks, and they're really talking about the latest trends. What's happening in ransomware and what are we seeing? How has some of the law enforcement takedowns impacted that landscape? We're also going to talk about some of the state-sponsored threats that we're seeing. There's a lot of activity that's going on right now. And when you think about state-sponsored attacks, you need to think about what's the long-term gain, and understanding that motivation helps you protect your organization. And then we're also going to talk about credential compromise. It's one of the most challenging threat vectors that organizations face today. I'll let you go with the next
Wow.
one.
I'm really looking forward to that for sure. So let's talk about the keynote address.
Yeah, so we've taken a bit of a different approach this year, and we did it because of what we've seen really come together over the past year. Stacey already mentioned the various disruptions and impact that law enforcement have had on the broader e-crime, the ransomware landscapes that are out there. And this one I'm really, really excited about because we've been able to bring together key leaders from not only the FBI in the US, but also here in the UK, the National Crime Agency, sitting down together in conversation. And this one, excites me for a few reasons. One, because it's really fun to be able to reflect on the year that has happened, the amount of takedowns and disruptions. But two, the conversation really is about how do we keep this up? How do we keep this up together? How do both public and private come together in this space? And as someone who's been in the walls of a no window building before, and it was hard to have conversations, to watch this kind of effort, these kinds of partnerships evolve has been nothing less than really thrilling. And so that conversation really covers it.
Yeah, and just to build on that point, the whole global threat, landscape, especially right now, seems to be, moving pretty rapidly, doesn't it? So you're going to talk about Chinese.
Yeah, I think these next two talks here I'll kind of lump together, but you have Mark Osborne and Rafe Pilling both coming out and really giving excellent view into not only the Chinese threat landscape. Rafe's will touch a bit about the Iranian threat landscape, but it's not just about here are the details of the technical intrusion. In Mark's talk, he's really going through broader strategic view of China, how they're changing their landscape, how they're looking ahead 10 years, 100 years into the future. And what does that mean today when we protect our organizations? And then when we look at Rafe and what he's talking about, it is not only about, who is Iran, what are they doing, how are they impacting organizations? It's how do we know that it's them? That road to attribution. We don't always have as much detail as Rafe is going to share there. But when we know who's behind attacks, when we know what their objectives are, that helps us better protect organizations, better have a conversation on how we can be prepared. And so these two talks will really, really share a lot of fun information for folks.
Yeah, and publicly, Director Ray from the FBI several months ago said in front of Congress that China is, deeply involved in some or much of our critical infrastructure. So I think that would be really amazing to listen and learn about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So here's another amazing topic: deepfakes. People are struggling with this crazy digital universe. What will we learn from here?
So this one's really interesting. I love that we're bringing together researchers from very specific groups. So we'll be joined with Mindcast that's going to talk a lot about what type of deepfakes AI that we're seeing around business email compromise. I think one of the stats I heard is that it only takes about 40 emails before someone will take in a phishing attack. And we're seeing that.
Wow.
We're going to talk about some ways of how do you understand. It's even interesting. We're seeing that because AI has made emails so good, we can detect them. Now, threat actors are again putting in misspellings to get past the AI detector. So really fascinating of what we're doing to really understand. And that social engineering is absolutely one of the main ways that when someone wants to really target inside an organization. And so this group of experts is going to talk a lot about that, and really exciting to see all come together as a collective whole.
Yeah, especially fun to see
and
there with us. And
yeah, and as a victim of cybercrime, I fell for it. So I can't wait to learn about that. Ransomware.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
I mean, it's going to be sprinkled throughout, and of course in some of those on-demand sessions. But Tim Mitchell's really going to build on some of that conversation that was had with our keynote address there, and talk about, so these things have happened. What does this mean for us? Has the threat level increased, decreased, stayed the same? And how has that evolution looked? Then ultimately, how do we stand ready to defend against it?
Wow. So what is super security?
Yeah, so this one I'm going to talk about because I love this topic. So one of the things I didn't say when I introduced is my background's been in computer science. I was part of that big data digital age when it was coming out. And so to see what we're talking about is the practice of data science combined with research of threat intelligence, when you combine that together, that truly allows you to create a defense system that can help protect organizations from all those threats we just talked about. And I think sometimes you'd say big words, machine learning, AI, data
Right.
science, you talk about threat intelligence. It's like, what does it all really mean and how does it come together? And so they're going to provide some real life examples on how combining that data science with threat intelligence is helping organizations detect the threat and how organizations can really think about it differently now that we have some of these tools to build up what we call super security.
Wow, I love that. My head is starting to explode, by the way. I don't know if you could hear that sound or not. So
The good news,
dark
Gary, is
web,
everything's recorded. So when you can join, we love people to join live, but we'll all have playbacks too, because I think there's going to be some good sound bites people are going to want to go back to.
yeah, no doubt
Yeah.
about that. So a dark web newbie, that's an interesting title, isn't it?
Yeah, and Rebecca is not a newbie to everything else, but this was a new space that she dove into, and with all things, she went head first. And I think what you'll find is one, not only just an excellent presentation from Rebecca, but tying together that these are humans that we're dealing with, right? And
That's right.
humans make things interesting. And it's an important context for us to keep. And I think what you'll see is see her go through her own journey, what she's learned, but also tie it into how is what we're doing online, on and off work, how does that impact our potential business security? And so you'll hear that her tie that up really nicely. And that's a talk I'm really looking forward to.
Great. And
Yeah.
dynamic attack networks. I mean, what's up with that?
So this is another one where we're pulling together a partner working with AWS. So when you think about the cloud, almost all data these days, at least a significant portion, is being stored in the cloud. And when you think about that, it's how do you defend that? It's no longer within your physical walls. Also, when you think about SaaS applications, you might not actually know where that data is. I mean, you should go through proper procurement and everything that you do. But the reality is you're often trusting someone else. And so this is really kind of combining as we think about the digital age and we think about cloud, what one are threats that are coming and emerging because of the way that we now operate as businesses. Threats follow data. I think that's an important lesson that we'll talk about. But then how can organizations really protect themselves from this and really from different perspectives, working with Amazon Web Services and Secureworks researchers.
Wow. So context does matter. What is that? What are we going to learn from that?
I recognize the faces there, but really, I think you've already highlighted. There's just just the amount of content that you're going to have here is really excellent. And one of the things that I'm a firm believer on, and I know Stacey is too, is threat intelligence plays an important part no matter your role. That being said, how we talk about it, how we share it is not the same for every role and responsibility, right? Your security analysts need information in a different way than your CEO or your board. And so how do we break down all of the things that we've covered in the day? How do we talk about it within the context of the right audiences? And then ultimately, what are some key takeaways from the day's events?
Indeed. And Wendy's going to close the event.
Yes, and I think if anyone is focused on fulfilling a mission and really waking up every day, that is our CEO, Wendy Thomas. And so she's going to give her perspective on how, really, as part of a greater collective cyber community, really thinking about every day, how do we outpace, outmaneuver our adversaries using the intelligence that we've just talked about.
Wow. And then, of course, these days, with working anywhere and the fact that life happens, like you said, people have an opportunity to view things on demand. What is the website that you want to direct them to be able to, do they have to register to be able to view on demand, I assume?
They can just register for this event. So go to secureworks.com. Right at the top, there's a link. And as soon as you register, you will get access after the event to these on-demand sessions. So one registration gives you access to the live day on October 3rd at 9 a.m. Eastern, and it will give you access to these other 19 different sessions. And then the other advantage is we're going to be publishing our State of the Threat report, where we'll collect a lot of this intelligence it's close to 100 pages. I've read it. A lot of other detailed information. So if you register, you also get access to that report early.
Wow. Well, it sounds, absolutely terrific. We have a couple comments here. If you want to take a look at them, Lacey says, "I'm so excited for the deep fit dive." Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that, Lacey. So, any closing thoughts before we say so long?
I think my only closing thought I'd say is one of these things is for this event. Sometimes have the question, well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm more on the business side, or I'm more on IT and I'm not necessarily in security. We've really designed that this is for anyone that's interested in understanding what cybersecurity are, what are cyber criminals, how they're acting, and really how to take that back inside your organization. We will have some of those breakouts that are going to be for the deep researcher or the very technical security analyst. But really the intent is there's something for everyone, and should be able to take this back and bring back to your teams and really talk about, these are the things that we should be talking about, especially as we plan for next year. And what are we going to do to continue to improve our security posture?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we're really excited about the day and what information we've pulled together and the work the team, this isn't just preparing for this event. It's over a year's worth of work that comes, into a culmination of a live event. And so I think it's just a great opportunity to get such an excellent view into what's going on.
Well, on behalf of a grateful digital universe, thanks to Stacy Leibninger and Alex Rose and Secureworks for who you are and for what you do, and in my view, most importantly, why you do it. And to our audience, stay tuned for more from the Cyber Hero Adventures Show.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Really appreciate having us today.
You're welcome.